Okay, perfect. All right, so we will call to order the May 21st OTA board meeting, and we will start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will start with roll call. Miriam, here. Mark,
Here.
Christine, absent. Dr. Reyes,
Here.
Daniel, absent. Judy, present. Bob,
Here.
Dell, here. Alvin,
Here.
Ms. Miller, here. Langston and Sophia.
Here.
Present. All right, so we will start with public comments. And we'll start with Ms. Elizabeth.
Thank you. Dear Board, very few people understand what special education teachers do. They see the outward aspects of my job. They see us helping students with their work in the class or talking to a student who's dysregulated and needs a hand. They are a very small part of my responsibilities. I am tasked with adapting curriculum to meet the needs of my students as well as providing alternative assignments. It means I need to be familiar with the curriculum of It means I need to create worksheets and lessons, not only to fill the gaps in their learning to increase their skill level. It means while creating the extra lessons that my students need to academically progress, I must also contend with the classroom assignments given by multiple teachers. It means I need to make incomprehensible material comprehensible and assignments that are several grades above their skill level accessible. It means I need to tie it all to the state standards that mostly align best with their classroom curriculum. It means just like every other general education teacher, I need to motivate and support students, except many of mine are non-neurotypical trying to adapt to a neurotypical world. And as a teacher with advanced knowledge of reading, behavior, brain development, and decades of experience in education, I can tell you the resource I need most is time. Uninterrupted time to build lessons, uninterrupted time to consult with general education teachers, uninterrupted time to plan and execute the support students need, uninterrupted time to write IEPs and report data, time to just think. I currently don't have a prep period and I teach 7 hours straight through with the exception of my lunch, which is spent eating and consulting with general education teachers about my students' needs. I have no time built into my schedule to plan, consult, or collaborate with the people I need to speak to most. My coworker, who is a behavior specialist, has an even harder time. She is pulled away 2 to 3 lunches a week to deal with behavior emergencies from our students with special needs. And there isn't a moment of her day that isn't spent tending to the needs of our students. There are a few hours a day where I am not thinking about how to make a lesson better, how to reach a student who learns differently or is motivated differently. But those thoughts should be occurring during minimum days when I am able to plan and consult with others. I cannot do most of my job with students in the room, nor can I do it in 15-minute increments. With the special education department shrinking and a staff next year and the caseload of the lead educational specialist going up to the legal maximum limit, I feel that minimum days are not a luxury, but a necessity to ensure that our students with special needs get the education they are legally and morally entitled to. Thank you for your time and your commitment to helping students.
Thank you. Up next, we have Tony.
So the last time I was here, I addressed some concerns about interactions with teachers and students, specifically my student. I'm here to raise some additional concerns as we wrap up this last school year. There's been a growing number of frustrations with regards to interactions with teachers and students. Most recently, an incident that occurred yesterday. But I do want to address them because I think that it warrants the attention that needs to be addressed with the board, because this cannot continue going into the next school year. I have a student that will not be here next year, but in the interest of all students being treated fairly, being listened to and heard and validated with how their interactions with their teachers must be managed correctly, I think that it's important that I address these things. So I'm going to briefly read what I wrote, but I'm going to leave the actual written document here for the board for record. So I'm writing as a concerned and deeply frustrated parent to formally raise ongoing issues regarding the behavior and the decision-making issues of certain middle school staff at Old Town Academy. These issues go beyond isolation or isolated incidents. They reflect a systematic failure of maintaining supportive and equitable and emotional safe learning environments. Students have been repeatedly subjected to public shaming, group punishments, inconsistent disciplinary practices, which have not by merit been justified, and emotional intimidation. Of particular concern is a clear and repeated use of personal bias rather than objective evaluation when it comes to how students should be treated in a classroom. There is a visible and troubling trend in which some students are singled out or labeled as disruptive or problematic, even when their behavior mirrors less severe behaviors of their peers, both this year and prior years at OTA. Others are overlooked, excused, favored, or based not on behavior, but perceived in likability, gender, or past reputation. These same actions may result in drastically different consequences depending on who the student is rather than what the behavior is that occurred. This lack of objectivity fosters a classroom environment where students do not feel seen and as individuals, and worse, where they may feel predetermined to fail based on how they are perceived by their teachers. This dynamically directly contradicts the principles and fair discipline, student equity, and positive school climate that OTA exhibits outward to the public. Adding to this concern, there was an incident that occurred in a math class in the middle school yesterday, where an entire class, 8th grade class, was penalized for the action of one student. Inappropriate language was also used in reference to this behavior, identifying the entire class as disgusting. This is absolutely an unappreciative, inappropriate, and discouraging manner in which an educator addresses a student, and would never be addressed as an adult and be appropriately communicated. In response to this, it creates threatening behaviors amongst students with their teachers. Feeling that a teacher speaks to a student and calls them disgusting, how could a student feel that they are equitably represented by the educator responsible for managing their curriculum? Disciplinary actions are too often emotionally driven rather than constructively driven, sending messages of shame instead of guidance. Furthermore, many OTA teachers in the middle school are still early in their careers and learning professional norms. So allowing bias and emotional reactive behaviors to continuously, this year specifically, go unaddressed sends the message that this is acceptable behaviors in practice within our school culture. What we tolerate becomes the standard, and right now that standard is falling short for our students. These behaviors violate OTA's stated policies, including discrimination, harassment, intimidation, bullying, along with disruptive behaviors that interfere with students' abilities to learn, negatively affecting student engagement, diminishing school safety, and contributing to hostile school environments. I'm raising this issue so that it can be addressed because this is not appropriate behavior and should never have been tolerated at its first inception. However, this has been something that has become a continual practice in many classes within the middle school curriculum. More specifically, in 2 classes, this has been a constant issue this year. The last time I raised this issue, it was isolation, discrimination against my student. I would like the board to take this in all seriousness because students should never be subjected to this line of behavior, and especially by somebody who is supposed to be trusted by parents to provide a safe environment for education. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, can we open the door? I am really.
Yeah.
Okay, up next, Mr. Pevins.
Literally typing this as I wrote in, so sorry if it's not public. So, with my repeated attendance to these board meetings, I feel like I've become known as somewhat for my speeches. I have been told more than once in my life that I'm quite the wordsmith. If it's true that I am, I can only tell you that it's because the words that I speak come from my heart. They're filled with sincerity and purpose. My words tonight are no different. I'm not here to go back through all of the things that teachers have to do. I think that my colleagues are going to do much of that. Frankly, you've already heard me go through my list in November. I'm here to tell you that the teachers at OTA are being pushed to their limits and beyond. We are all staring down the barrel of a fresh school year, rife with staff cuts that will undoubtedly make our nearly impossible jobs even harder. What is currently expected of us takes up more time than you can imagine, and the only possible way this school can continue to function with less staff is if the remaining staff fills in the gaps that a staff cut will create. I'll be honest, and I'll say that I think the survey that was sent to parents about minimum days was a mistake. After reading the results, it's clear that while a plurality of parents do support the change to 1 minimum day per week, there is a sizable chunk that doesn't. Of those that don't, they all throw out lines about how much they support teachers, while offering no example of how they actually do. Some are even openly hostile towards teachers, and their accusations that teachers would actually just leave early instead of getting extra work done, or otherwise abuse our extra time. I arrived at school at 6:45 this morning. Corey was already here. Andrea and Fernando, not far behind. They're all here by 7. Ms. Ashkenazi and I both gave up 3 days of our own time to take middle school students on field trips last week. Coach K gave up an entire week. None of us received any extra pay for going on these trips, no stipend, no extra time off. I did take Monday off, but I have used my own PTO to do so. Every teacher here has voluntarily agreed to a pay freeze next year to support this school. This is above and beyond the extra money that we could make at other schools in other districts. Our devotion to this school is not about money or the prospect of a nice job. It's about our passion to realize the vision of what this school could be. While I don't want to dismiss legitimate concerns that many parents do have, I can't help but feel that much of the hesitation that parents feel is a resistance to change. I've heard a refrain from parents several times throughout this year about what this school used to be like, how glorious it was. Well, it's easy to look upon the past with rose-colored glasses, but the reality is that the chaos that ushered in new leadership to this school and an entirely new staff is a direct result of what this school used to be. What we have now is a transformational principal with a vision for the future and a full staff of teachers ready to support him in realizing that vision. Every teacher here has demonstrated again and again how much we support this school and its students. What we are asking of you tonight is that you show us that our sacrifices aren't lost on you. We are asking that you show the same commitment to us as we show to this school day after day. If you truly support teachers, please recognize all that we have done to support this school by voting in favor of having one minimum day per week in the 25-26 school year.
Thank you. Up next is Ms. Bryce.
I'd like to start off by complaining that I'm following James once again. Again, I feel like I'm not as well spoken as him, so that's okay. I'm also here to speak on behalf of the minimum days. We have been asking for weekly minimum days since the beginning of this school year. Per teacher request, Mrs. Miller brought this to the board's attention in August. Instituting weekly minimum days is vital to support teacher work-life balance so that we can continue to provide the best environment for our students, your students, to thrive and to be able to serve this school. Our jobs as educators go beyond face-to-face instruction of students. It includes, but is not limited to, lesson planning, grading, analyzing assessments and data, organizing, collaborating with our peers, professional development, planning and executing PBL projects, which is part of what makes OTA so amazing and stand out in the community, and communicating effectively with parents and families. Weekly minimum days will give us the time that we need to be able to do these aspects of our job in the way that will benefit our students and the school the most. Having weekly minimum days enables us to have time to work for the well-being of our students, in addition to time to have time to engage in invaluable professional development and SOS meetings, which is what the majority of our minimum days have been set aside for since I joined the staff in 2023. Adding minimum days to every week would give us more time to be in our classrooms working on things that our individual classes need to succeed. Research backs this up. According to Rand Corporation's 2023 report, All Work and No Pay, teachers reported working on average of 53 hours per week, with many of these hours unpaid. We are contracted for 40 hours per week. That's on average 13 hours a week the teachers are working unpaid. According to Darling Hammond in 2017, that emphasizes that effective PD is sustained, collaborative, and embedded in teachers' workdays. So something that's consistent, something that minimum days can help continue to enable. The Learning Policy Institute reports that teachers in countries with high-performing education systems, such as Finland and Singapore, spend more time collaborating and less time in front of their students compared to their US counterparts. By listening to us teachers and staff and providing us with the show of support that we are seeking, you will help ensure teacher stability for the following school year. It is invaluable to imagine a whole staff being able to return, and the first graders that I saw last year as kindergartners go into second grade and eventually hopefully moving up into third grade. That consistency is amazing for both their development and their security and their success at school. Having teachers that are constant at a school and in a student's life will help build a solid foundation to build a better community between the staff, the parents, and the students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next, Andressa.
So good evening. As Mr. Feathers, I'm no news here. I talked here many times. And so the celebration is going to be the last time because we are done with OTA. Next year we are out of here. So English is not my first language. So I have many grammar mistakes. I apologize for that. And I hope you can understand. And if I go over the time a little bit, you are allowed to do whatever you want. I just want to say thank you all the board members for being here. I'm here once again to report a couple issues. But I have no expectations that this board will listen to our concerns, or actually my concerns, or some other parents' concerns here. The reason for that is so many of us parents came here and keep reporting things that are not right. We reported to the teachers, we reported to the principal, and then we come here and we report to the board and nothing changes. So I'm here today because I truly believe that we have to speak up and never give up, saying what we think and what is true. We need to keep fighting for what is right, because maybe one day someone will listen, or someone will remember that some parents report X, Y, or Z issue and nothing was done about it. Many parents in this school really don't believe the power of this decision of this board. Neither the staff or the main leadership. Everybody is very comfortable that things will remain the way that it is right now. Anyway, I want to say thank you to all the teachers who treated our kids with respect for all these years. You all know who you are. I want also to remind the board that the same way that we should be thankful for many great teachers we have here, the teachers also should be aware that OTA is a very special place for them to work. I am sure regular public schools don't offer them what we offer. I am sure they would not get glazed, like our kids say, as they are here by the parents. We parents are the ones who support the teachers and the kids during the school year journey. It is our money, our fundraising money that supports monthly lunch, supplies. We are the ones also who help stand up with for kids, teachers appreciation gifts, and so many other things. Graduation, it's done with parents' money. Dance, it's done with parents' money. All it's done with our support. And you know what is the sad part in all these things? In these last 3 years, we never saw a big division like we see today. Teachers in one side and parents and kids in the other side. Nothing was done to correct that. Leadership did quite the opposite. We are still have things that we never seen before. We talk about the past, yes, we do, because it was great. It was the reason why so many of us choose OTA for our kids. So it is very hard after 9 years to see that was lost in some time. I reported so many mistakes. Even kids came to this board meeting and report favoritism. The kids know what is happening these 3 last years. It's not right. They know, we all know, and you guys know, and nothing's changing. What our kids are learning here? Kids are learning not to be treated equally, maybe because they are kids of immigrant parents, or their parents don't have the big pockets to support the school and they are treated different. What else? We also heard about that our kids should not, they listen that they should not have kids because the world will end. The food will not be available, water will not be available to them. And this is repeatedly said during STEM class. Kids in first grade also had sub years ago that they didn't even know like how to refer to the sub as Mrs. or Mr. They were all confused. We had 60 families leaving the school. That was not a concern for all of you to talk to these families and ask them why did they leave? Nothing. So honestly, how is this going to be addressed in the future? We have here 4 8th grade parents in this board. Can't you all see how our kids are being treated since 5th grade when they were emotionally abused by a teacher who had no qualification to be around them? They were labeled right there as very difficult class, and they've been treated like that since then. We, 8th grade parents, we were labeled by this leadership as mafia moms. Did anybody said anything about that? No. So I don't know until when you guys going to be ignoring this. financial mistakes. Last year, if the president of this board did not ask me for help with field trip transportations, we would lose $8,000. $8,000 the parents raised for this school because it was a crazy price tag and they were booked to the wrong dates. So in 2 hours and a couple of phone calls, we were able to save $8,000. This year, I was involved on the field trip transportation again. We got a quote of $13,000. The bus company made the mistake of sending a $17,000 invoice to the school. Repeatedly, I told it was wrong. I repeatedly said that we needed one bus to Yosemite and one bus to Bali. The company made the mistake and sent that $17,000 invoice to the school for 3 buses. You know what happened? It was paid. Where is the supervision? Nobody looked to the invoice and saw that $4,000 was not right there. So last year, I had to hold my tongue because I saw that the principal of this school omitted information on a student on a private school's application. And I have that confirmed. But I had to be quiet because the middle school contracts for the teachers were like right there. If I say something and principal, it's not here, we don't have teachers. So we were on the 8th grade. So it was expected that we just shut up. So my point is, I think these are 2 very serious mistakes and puts the school credibility in the point. And something needs to be done. So today, I really hope that this board is aware that, again, many parents don't believe that you guys care. We don't believe that the teachers care. And we don't believe that this weak leadership will ever be gone. In these 3 last years, the debt of the school is bigger. How's the donations of the parents? Lower? Maybe there is a reason for that. Finally, I just want to say, please remember that if you are all here, we are all here, it is because of our kids. Our kids like their friends. Some of them left and came back because of their friends. They really used to like OTA. They've been here for so long. And that's the reason why we kept them here. And I hope that next years, the kids, they want to stay here too. Thank you.
Thank you, Andressa. Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Fitzpatrick, and I'm the 2nd grade teacher here at OTA. This is my 3rd year at Old Town Academy and my 7th year teaching lower elementary. I'm here today to advocate for the addition of weekly minimum days to our school calendar. In the 2022-2023 school year, I spoke in support of adding weekly minimum days, which contributed to the results of the bi-weekly minimum day schedule. It has proven more effective than our previous structure. However, even with that improvement, we continue to face challenges in balancing teacher work time with SOS meetings, professional development, and other responsibilities. The reality is that there still isn't enough dedicated time for teachers to effectively complete all of our responsibilities within the school hours with students on campus. This results in many teachers staying late, arriving early, and working on the weekends, including myself. Adding 17 additional minimum days to our calendar would offer critical time for teachers to complete essential tasks such as lesson planning, grading, organizing, data analysis, communication with parents, and collaboration, which all directly enhance the educational experience for our students. This issue is especially vital in a small school environment like OTA, where elementary teachers do not have the same grade level members to collaborate with. Without that support structure and with upcoming budget cuts that will reduce the availability of instructional aides, teachers are left with even more to manage independently. Minimum days offer a built-in solution, which is why so many schools use this model. Schools within San Diego Unified and charter schools under the same umbrella already follow the weekly minimum day schedule. It's a proven strategy that supports teachers, and by extension, it benefits the students. What makes OTA truly special is our close-knit community. I've had the privilege of getting to know so many families over the years and value the relationships we build. Students thrive in environments where they see familiar, trusted faces year after year. Consistency among staff is key to maintaining that safe and supportive environment. By implementing a weekly minimum day, we can better support our teachers' well-being and reduce burnout and turnover, helping ensure we remain a stable and strong community as well. This isn't just about scheduling, it's about sustainability. It's about ensuring OTA remains a place where educators want to stay, grow, and continue giving their best to our students. So the ask is simple: 17 additional minimum days throughout the year, which still aligns with our current calendar and holiday breaks. Please consider this proposal not just as a scheduling adjustment, but as an investment in our staff, students, and community we've all worked so hard together to build. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, next there's a speaker slip from a group of concerned parents. There's.
No, go ahead.
Dear members of the school board, we are writing to you with a heavy heart, both disturbed and deeply disappointed by an incident that took place yesterday in the 8th grade classroom. During an English class, a few students were reportedly being disruptive. In response, the math teacher from the adjoining classrooms took it upon herself to enter and discipline the entire class, even though it was not her class, nor her place to intervene in this way. Unfortunately, this is not the first time this particular teacher has overstepped boundaries that should be respected among colleagues and within the school structure. While I fully understand the frustration that can arise when a few students disrupt the learning environment, it is profoundly unfair educationally unsound to hold an entire class accountable for the actions of a few. Yet this is exactly what happened. Math teacher kept the entire class from attending their elective, instructed all students to write apology letters to the school and administration. Several students were forced to rewrite their letters multiple times until they met her personal expectations. Some students who genuinely felt they had done nothing wrong were still pressured to submit an apology. This is not just an overreach, but an abuse of authority. Our children deserve classrooms where they feel safe, heard, and respected, not silenced or punished unjustly. They deserve teachers who discipline fairly, not based on personal frustrations or emotional overreaction. I am writing this letter not out of anger, but out of concern that incidents like this could erode trust in students' place in their educators and the respect that they have for the school as a whole. I hope the situation serves as an opportunity for reflection and that the administration will take steps to ensure all staff are supported in practicing professionalism, empathy, and appropriate boundaries when working with students. Thank you for your time and your commitment to creating a safe, respectful, and nurturing school environment for all children. Thank you, concerned and frustrated parents. All right, moving on. So board member comments and correspondence. Okay, I do have one request. We do have the 7th grade class, some students here that are going to be presenting to the board for the sake of their time and the parents' time. Are we okay pushing up their presentations to right now? Yeah, okay, perfect. So
Devin, I know that's part of your thing, so if you want to,
Yeah, give me 1 second, I wasn't prepared, sorry.
no worries, thank you.
All right, so we do have, I'm not even sure, I think we've got 5 students, today who are just gonna introduce themselves, talk a little bit about why they're running for next year, and then they will give speeches to their class, I believe, tomorrow or sometime this week, and then there will be voting for next week. So we'll start with Raina, so you can get up and introduce herself first. You can come right up here.
Hi, my name is Raina, and I want to be a student representative next year because I want to help our school achieve greater things by putting the school community's suggestions, ideas, and or troubles into consideration to hopefully make a difference in the future for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Isla?
I would like to be a OTA representative because I've been here for 8 years since kindergarten. OTA was a second home to me, so I want to be able to whether OTA not just for my class, but also for other classes as well. And I also want to make this year the best year for this upcoming year, the best year for me and my classmates since it was our last year here. And I think I would be a good candidate for the OTA for representative because I'm very dedicated and committed to things, and I also want to make sure everyone's heard and respected. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Adelaide?
Hi, my name is Adelaide. I want to be a grade board representative next year because I know our school has gone through a lot of troubles and we've gotten back from most of them. And I know next year there will be more troubles, but I want to be able to connect the staff, the students, the parents, and help not make those troubles as deep as they happen. And like Lila, I've also been here 8 years. This school is amazing. I really love it. I've always wanted to stay here, but I just want to make our school the best possible version of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
And I'm a 7th grader at OTA. I've been attending since 3rd grade. I would like to be an 8th grade representative because I want to make a difference. Hearing what students have to say let us give various opinions and perspectives, which can ultimately make a better, safer, more comforting community. I've experienced when it comes to the position because previously when I attended dance, I was a student teacher in Rome. Being in that student teaching position allowed me to experience leadership and communication. Previously, I was a participant in National History Day and am very comfortable speaking in front of an audience. We performed a skit which allowed me to present in front of parents, judges, as well as other participants. They asked us on-the-spot questions, which allowed me to sharpen my quick thinking and oral communication skills. I feel that I would make a good representative because I am committed, I have experience with similar positions, and I strive to improve OTA. In the past, I would struggle with speaking up for myself and making my voice heard. My personal experience and struggles have made it my goal to make every student feel heard and fairly represented, which is why I would like to be a candidate for the 8th grade representative. Thank you.
My name is Dylan Gonzalez. I don't really have anything to offer, like as much as my other friends and classmates. I wanted to like be something important, so I decided to join this. So thanks for listening.
Perfect, thank you, guys. Does the board have any questions, comments?
We have 6 representatives.
You guys all did great. We really appreciate your time and the parents' time for bringing you guys here. Good luck to all of you, and we look forward to working with you guys next year. Okay. So we did board member comments, there were none. and we'll move into presentations and reports. And we'll start with the student report, Sophia and Langston.
So some students have had some recommendations as to adding to the school store, like some type of like pajamas. I know some other schools have like pajamas with like the school branding on them, jackets, hoodies, stuff that would be like a lot besides pajamas, stuff that would be allowed to be worn in school as they have the school branding on them.
There was a request for multiple classes for an update on the land side situation. I know that's been passed on to the city. However, if there's any updates, nothing.
The wood chips are still a problem. Is that going to be fixed or is that?
That was not gonna change the guy we're going to in the school at this point.
Okay. And the sixth grade class really, really wants the addition of a lava pit, which is.
It's a Catalina thing.
But it's actually not, it's a very feasible thing, because in all actuality, all that would be necessary would be some boards, which are
I don't.
from Home Depot or something like that. Constructed in a hexagonal shape, that's a gone with it. That was a request, they were very, very adamant about it, and it's up to you guys. Okay, that'll be all, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. It is your second to last board meeting. I just had a question from all the issues that you guys have brought up on behalf of the school. Do you feel that there has been things met that have been asked, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I know that something that was brought up a lot was, like equipment for, outside PE. Or I know there was, back in the beginning of the year, equipment for the kinder playground. And both of those needs have been met, so, yeah.
Thank you, guys. And you guys can leave, it's gonna be a long meeting, so feel free to go. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, guys. Next we have financial report, Janina. I think gonna be going over the April 2025 check register, April 2025 financial board report, and the April 2025 trial balance.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I will go ahead and start with the check register. All right. Can everyone see my screen okay?
It's kind of small, but we have to fix it up.
I can scroll in. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let me share again. All right. Is that a bit better?
Oh, then there's. Yeah, okay, it's this one.
And everyone can see it on your side on the screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. I'll just go ahead and slowly scroll down here. All right, any questions on the check register?
Question?
All right, I don't believe so. So with that, I will go ahead and move on to the financial board report. All right. Everyone can see it all okay on your end? I didn't hear a no, so I'll take that as a yes. So this evening, I am presenting the April 30th, 2025 board report. So this report is compared against our last board-approved budget, which took place at second interim, and it is based on student enrollment count of 196 students and 178 ADA. The budgeted net deficit for the year in this report is $943,000. The year-to-date revenues from July 1st to the last closed month of April 30th, 2025 are $2,407,573, which is 31.1% over what we currently had budgeted for the end of April. And this is mainly due to some of those funds being received and recognized a little bit earlier in comparison to what we had budgeted for this period of time. And this mainly is coming from donations, the Arts and Music Grant, Learning Recovery, and ELOP grant. Just as a side note, the recognition of these funds coming in earlier does not necessarily represent an increase in revenue, as these were already budgeted for. They just came in a few months sooner than what we had on the budget. The year-to-date expenses through April 30th, 2025 are $3,028,193, which is 8.9% under what we currently had budgeted. And this is basically under budget for all categories. So that is going to be for certificated classified staff, benefits, books and supplies, and services and other operating expenditures. So this doesn't necessarily indicate a cost saving at this specific time, as various expense categories may increase over the next few months, but we'll continue to monitor that as we get to the end of the year. All right, so then moving on, here we have the financial snapshot. So in the financial snapshot, this is just a visual of what I explained on the summary page. And here are the numbers in the actual to budget summary page. So we have the total budget column in the middle of the graph, and this is the budget that the board last approved. As mentioned, this budget is based on the deficit of $943,641. Now, if we look to the far left, the first column, we have actuals. These are the actual revenues and actual expenditures that have come in from July to the last closed month of April. And then we have the budgeted column. These are the budgeted revenues and budgeted expenditures that we budgeted from July to April. So in the variance column, you will see that we have total revenue coming in favorably in the amount of $570,650. And most of this is coming from the state revenue and local revenue that I mentioned on the summary page. Some of those ELOP funds, donations, Arts and Music Grant, and Learning Recovery funds. Going on down to total personnel expenses, we have these also coming in favorably at $159,000. And total operational expenses also coming in favorably at $135,000. All right, is there any questions on this specific slide from the board before I move forward?
I had a question on the previous slide. I don't know.
Oh, I can go back, no worries.
Yeah, on the financial summary, if I can understand it correctly, the difference between the 196 students, I guess, attending, and then the 178 ADA, and then is the 15,000 per student?
It's about 10.
So
Sorry, I think I missed the question.
I guess when a student does not attend class, we lose 10,000.
No,
So it's about 10 to 15,000. The reason that I say 15,000 is because certain grade levels are funded differently. So it ranges from about 10 to 15,000. That's about how much it costs for one ADA or one enrollment, meaning that if your ADA drops by 1. So if you had ADA of 177 instead of 178, that'd be equivalent to about $10,000 to $15,000.
Overall, based on known numbers, it's 270,000 then that we are not collecting because of the ADA.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing the questions.
So we are not capturing $270,000 based on this calculation between the difference of 196 and 178.
You referenced a number of 270,000. May I ask where the 270,000 is that you're referencing?
I think it was based on the difference between 196 and 178 being 15 students times the 15,000.
So we wouldn't take the difference from 196 and 178. 196 is the amount of students enrolled, where 178 is your average daily attendance. And that's based on a percentage. So, let's go ahead and say we anticipate that the 196 students are going to show up to school 93% of the time. Then that's how we get our ADA number based off of that enrollment.
So we had rating row, the 196, all the attending would get 275.
Yeah, if there's 100%.
Yeah, you got 100%. Okay,
Right.
thank you. I just know what the difference is. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure if I was able to answer the question. I was having a bit of some difficulty hearing, but I think maybe one of the board members was able to answer the question.
Yeah, or did you answer my question? Thank you.
Oh, okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right.
Another question. So
Oh, yes.
in follow-up to Dr. Quezada's question, what ADA are we balancing it on? Because it looks like this is about 90.8 ADA that we're reporting. What is our estimated ADA that we're basing the budget on? I feel like if memory serves, we're estimating about 93 or 94%. What are we budgeted?
Yeah, let me pull that up really quickly. That is actually in my budget document. So we are currently budgeting at 94%.
Okay, so that would be the difference that I guess Dr. Quezada was referencing. It would be between that 94 and between this 90.8 that we're having.
I think I'm confused on the question because when we built the budget around the 196 and the 178, that is.
Okay, so we're building the budget based on 178. That's not the current ADA. The budget is based on 178.
That is the budget that the board last approved, yes, which was based on the 196 and the 178, and that is how we had the deficit of 943 based on that enrollment with all revenues accounted for and all expenses accounted for.
Okay.
So I guess I'm having a hard time understanding when I'm hearing difference.
Well, no, I guess, and I thought that what the 178 you're reporting here, so this is very helpful, was what the actual ADA is. So that's the budgeted ADA. Okay.
Budgeted ADA, correct. At second interim, that isn't what we anticipated to end this year at. So if that has gone up, then that will benefit the budget favorably.
Okay, great.
And that would have to take account at P2. So whatever your P2 number came in at, and P2 took place in January, then that is what would be the final number that the state goes off of.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. All right, so any additional questions from the board? on this slide here or previous slides?
No.
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 Okay, great. So here we are at the monthly cash balance over time. And here we are now looking at the balance sheet. So you will see we have total assets in the amount of $1,166,010. Total liabilities in the amount of $556,237, which brings us to our total net assets in the amount of $609,773. All right, so here we are looking at our charter school support team and all of our contact information. And here is the restricted funds at the end of April. This is something that Devin and I work on monthly, and we'll be wrapping up with the end of the year coming. And these are just some compliance look ahead items. So the next big items that we have coming to the board is going to be your LCAP for next year, and then the preliminary budget for next year as well. All right, and that concludes my financial presentation for the month of April. And I have one more document to share here, or I'm sorry, I have two more documents to share. I've got the trial balance, which I will go ahead and share on the screen. All right, so here is our trial balance for the month of April. You'll see at the top here, we have everything from the 1000s, 2000s, all the way down to the 5000s are items that are on the income statement. And then everything from the 8000s to the 9000s down is everything that is on the balance sheet. So this report just enables us to see that everything is tying out as these reports do flow into each other and that everything balances. And then one last document that I do have to share that was a request from the board is the general ledger. So I provided the general ledger previously from the beginning of the year to the last closed month of March, I believe it was. So this one is going to just be for the month of April alone. So these are going to be all your payroll expenses, and then now moving into the benefits portion. And then now we will be moving into books and supplies in the 4000 series. And now in the 5000 series, we will be looking at services and other operating expenditures. So then after this 8000s, this then is the revenue that has come in. So all of the 8000s is your revenue. And then the 9000s is your balance sheet, and those two reports, as I mentioned, roll into each other. All right, so any additional questions on the GL at this time?
Yes, I have a question, Janina, which is I'm just trying to sort of, I guess, put together the two different documents that you've provided to see how they interrelate. And for instance, I notice on the check register, we've got a $5,700 to South Coast Copy Systems. On what area of the general ledger would that apply? That's in the 4,000 series or, okay, looks like maybe it's Mario has found that, it's in the 5,000 series.
Sorry, let me pull up the check register again so that I can follow. Sorry, bear with me. I closed the document. I've just got to download it one more time.
Okay, Mariam actually has found it in the 5,000 series.
Okay.
Those numbers don't match. Is it different months? It's showing the same date.
Okay, so I'm sorry, which one was it on the check register? I have it up.
I noticed on the check register, we've got $5,700 for South Coast Copy System. And then I was just trying to understand how the check register and the general ledger interrelate. And I see that, for instance, that expense would be in the 5,000 series. But then it's actually showing a different dollar amount.
Okay, so I'm actually going to pull up that specific check in my accounting system. So bear with me, I'm pulling it up as we speak so that I can see exactly where that bill was coded to, because it will be a bit easier for me to look it up that way. Okay, so it looks like that is being coded to 5605.
Yeah. Mario pointed that out to us. So then, but it's a different amount in 5605.
Right. So that right there, that lease is a copier lease. And so we have a portion of that lease on our balance sheet. And so what it is that we have to, just like the rent, account for depreciation in that. So I can go ahead and send that to the board if the board would like to see how we're accounting for the copier with its cost and the lease.
I mean, I think just the answer, it sounds like I personally don't need to see how you're depreciating it. But the reason then that entire amount doesn't appear on the general ledger is because part of it is
being captured in 9655.
Okay, under depreciation.
Under ROU liability. So you'll be able to see that on the general ledger.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that, we all as a board understand how these financial documents interrelate. So, great.
Right. Is there any additional questions that I can answer for the board?
Doesn't sound like it.
Okay, and I was able to find the other portion of that on the GL really quickly. So here's that other portion. So if you add up this amount plus the 4,000 that's in the 5,600, then it should get you the exact amount that's on the check register.
Okay, perfect.
5,000. All right. Okay, well, if there are no additional questions for me, then that concludes my presentation for this evening. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.
So we're moving on to a teacher report, Ms. Miller.
Hello, everyone. I appreciate all that have come out to support our OTA community tonight. We would all not be here if we did not believe in the future and success of our school community. With that being said, I can't believe that we are in the final 3 weeks of the 2024-2025 school year. The middle school had incredible adventures during their overnight field trips last week. State testing for middle school and elementary school was a big success. And this week's Spirit Week has been a fun boost of morale to get students and staff members through these last few weeks. The OTA teachers are excited for the upcoming end of the year festivities, such as 8th grade, 5th grade, and kindergarten graduation, next week's talent show, and our infamous field day. With all the success that this school year has had to offer, the OTA staff is looking forward to continuing their journey at OTA for the next school year and beyond. However, there are 2 very big decisions that the school board has not made or decisions that have not been finalized that are currently preventing teachers and staff from signing their contracts for next school year. Number 1, in April, the OTA staff was made aware that our current principal and executive director, Devin Phillips, has not been extended a contract for 2025-2026 school year. His 3-year contract is coming to an end and has not been renewed. The teachers were shocked to find out this information pretty late into the school year as they were signing contracts, or right before they were signing contracts. Many of my coworkers, including myself, spoke openly at our last school board meeting about Devin's immeasurable contributions to our OTA community's success due to his leadership and community building skills. Please go back and watch the May 5th board meeting posted to the OTA YouTube channel if you would like to see our speeches from that night. Devin's contract renewal not being finalized is one of the reasons OTA staff members have not signed their contracts for the next school year. Number 2, tonight the OTA school board will be voting to add weekly minimum days to the OTA calendar per the OTA staff's request. The decision that is made today is the second reason many staff members have not signed their contracts for next school year. In April 2023, I went to my first OTA school board meeting and spoke in open session about the OTA teachers' desperate need for weekly minimum days to be added to the 2023-2024 school year. The school board voted that night to add minimum days every other week to the calendar. Like Ms. Fitzpatrick said in her speech, it's just still not enough. We still need more time. Now, as the teacher representative of the OTA school board, I've continued to advocate for weekly minimum days to be added to the 2025-2026 school year, and I've discussed our need for weekly minimum days at all school board meetings this year. I've discussed at length how we use our current minimum days, why we need this additional time, and how we will use our additional time to support our students' learning and effectiveness as teachers. Please see the OTA minimum day outline that is provided at the table if you would like to see this information. I've also discussed at length how adding minimum days will not take away from the rigorous academics that OTA provides our students, and it will only continue to build upon the instruction that we are currently giving our students. I've also discussed at length what OTA can do to support to support parents who have difficulties picking their children up early on our current minimum days, accessing after-school programs, or using our after-school care, the Osprey Club. Like I've said in previous meetings, OTA is willing to work with OTA families if the cost of after-school care is preventing them from using this vital resource. Last month, we sent out a parent survey to give OTA parents a voice on important decisions being made tonight. We had 102 parents respond to our survey. When asked, do you support adding 2 minimum days per month to the OTA 2025-2026 calendar? 46% of parents said they support this change. 40% said they did not support this change. And 15% said they had no opinion.
Ms. Miller, I'm sorry, but just out of those 102, the first 3 were the board testing, right?
Yes, I think probably 900.
Yeah.
And even 100. How would adding 2 minimum days per month affect your family? 28% said it'd be a positive change. 47% said it would have a negative effect on their family, and 24% said it would have no effect on their family. I can continue going into these details if need be. But when analyzing the survey results from parents, the majority of OTA families said they were in support of adding weekly minimum days in order to support teachers and student learning, even though the majority of parents responded to the survey said that it would have a negative effect on their family. You heard that correctly. Even though
it will have a negative impact on their family. Many parents still stated that they support these additional minimum days in order for teachers to best support their students. Seeing results like that really puts in perspective how great our OTA community is. Old Town Academy is a school that I would choose for my future children because of the community that we have surrounding us, the incredible leadership we have, and our phenomenal teachers and students that make our school so great. Tonight, when voting to add weekly minimum days to the 2025-2026 school calendar, please vote in support of teachers so we can continue building a bright future for our OTA students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do. Are the professional development days, are those considered on-site days? Are all of these on-site?
Yes.
Okay, so when you say guest speakers, state prep, so you're inviting
People
to
come here.
to do it. And so all of this takes place on site. So while minimum days would be over at, say, 12 o'clock, the teachers would still be on campus until 3 p.m., 3:30. Okay, thank you.
On the question number 2, it says, do you support adding more? And 45% said I do versus 40% saying they don't. That's a 5% difference. On question number 3, where it says, how would adding 2 minimum days affect your family? 28% said it would positively affect them versus the 47% saying negatively. So while it is correct that the majority of the parents said, or 45% of the parents said they would support this change, the gap between the support and not supporting it is a lot smaller than the gap of negatively affecting the family versus positive affecting. So I don't know if it would positively affect, or this, like, there is that support amongst parents.
I mean, if 45% of parents are saying they support it and
versus 40
versus the 28% that's saying that it has a positive effect. So that's almost 15% of people that said that they are supporting are saying it's still going to be negative affecting their family.
So 47% said it would negatively affect their family versus a 40% that said that they would support the change. I guess what I'm trying to point out is that I have my feelings about half days. I know it's contradictory to what I'm about to say. I do see the need for them. I do support the want of the teachers. On the flip of that coin, like, we have to also look at the parents, and when reading through the comments, it feels like a lot of parents this would affect their work, finances and things like that. How do we're not able to offer a free Osprey Club. A lot of the comments in there were saying that the cost of after school care is not affordable for them. And we're not able to offer that 1 day a week free to them, correct?
I would say correct to that. I mean, I haven't run the numbers because I don't know how many kids that would be and what that would look like staffing it, but because we don't know how many kids it would be. But right now, Osprey Club has basically become self-sufficient as a program. So I think
But we still wouldn't be able to offer even like 10 families a free spot 1 day a week if we switch to minimum days.
I mean, in theory, we offer that every day. Any kid that's left after school, I mean, we have multiple kids who are picked up for an hour or 2 hours every day that we support with Osprey Club. So in technicality, yes, we can do that. Problem is, if we have a Friday where we don't know how many kids are coming, as an example, and we are low on staff, that number ratio might be higher than what it can be.
So we could we afford to add the staff to man those minimum days for potential kids showing up? Like,
I mean, you've seen the budget. I feel like you know the answer to that question.
So it would be a no, right?
Yeah, like, now, the flip side of that is currently, if we were going to staff that, it would probably be with our instructional assistants in the back half of the day. That isn't something I've talked to them about, but you know, Non-financially, it's doable. Financially becomes the question.
Okay. I had one other question. Has any consideration or have you gotten any feedback have you gotten any feedback and it has any consideration been given to extending the length of time for parent-teacher conferences? They're quite abbreviated, right? So I think about, at least for middle school, it's pretty much 5 minutes with each teacher. And so in traditional public schools, I've been accustomed to, my son's much older now, but having at least 15-20 minutes to talk about my child, their behavior, their participation, how to challenge them more. So is there an opportunity within this minimum day change to consider giving more time to the parents for these parent-teacher conferences?
I think middle school is already planning on restructuring their conferences already. So I think that's already the plan in place to make a restructure because it always feels so rushed. But definitely we can, I mean, any teacher was willing to meet with any parent at any time that they would schedule a conference.
Of course, but I mean,
So-
traditionally, people are expecting like that's that mid-school time to talk about it. So I completely understand that there's opportunity outside of the parent-teacher conference, but since that is meant to be sort of a summary of what's occurred from past to present, it would be nice if that time had a little more weight to it.
Yeah, I'm sure we can finish it.
And also there was talk, it just reminded me, there was talk last year about adding another parent-teacher conference. Or is that an option to use some of these additional minimum days for that?
There's two things to that, because I'm gonna answer that question. What the teachers are asking for is time to work. What you're asking them to do is sit with parents during that period of time and not do that work. So if you're saying we need to have those additional conferences, what really needs to happen is there needs to be 2 additional minimum days put on the back half, so there can be 3 minimum days to work that out, just like there is in the front half, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
so in that case, the ask would be not 17 more minimum days, but 19, just so you understand that premise.
Yeah, that was an ask of parents and I think of the board last year to try to throw in more. Parent.
I think that came during the most recent calendar talks.
It was brought up last year with Bridget and stuff.
It was
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Miller. Oh, did the survey results get sent out to the teachers?
I actually sent it out today to teachers.
Oh, is that going to be sent out to parents as well, or just?
I think that's a board decision. I was never told because I sent it out to the full school board. I wasn't sure if I wanted to.
Okay, no, I
Yeah.
didn't see the need, I just thought of teachers. Okay, thank you.
If it's something you guys do want out there, we can put it on the website and just send the link out.
Because I have it all in PDFs.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
However you guys feel in different.
I think it would be fine, to put it there. If you get time to complete it, they should know the results. It's anonymous anyway, so at least, because I think that'll also support whatever decision the board makes for or against. So they're able to see the data. That's my recommendation.
That works. So Devin, can you post that to the website?
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I shut this door now? Are we
No,
good now?
I was just,
We're good now, though?
yes.
Between the air conditioner and the door, I got.
Okay, next up, we have Melody's report.
Yeah, she couldn't be here tonight, so,
Actually, I had one more comment on the previous one, then I think, and I'm sorry, your name?
My name?
Yeah.
Malin Rice.
No, I agree with what you were reporting with regards to the research on the data. I know Darling Hammond very well. And one of the courses that I teach is on high performing nation or international schools. So exactly what you said is all true.
Okay, so we'll do Melody's.
yeah. So, enrollment update, our current enrollment is at 199. The board asked for kind of a different breakdown, so, returning for the 25-26 school year is 166. That is a difference of, 33. 23 of those students are eighth graders, so currently 10 students have said they're not returning next year. And then to the right, the bar is the total returning and accepted / registered for next year. And so next year's numbers are currently at 224. And our ADA is actually up from where it's been. It's currently at 95%.
So the last column, total returning and accepted, that's old and returning and new applicants, right? So that puts us at the 224. So that 250 number you guys presented last meeting, that was the projection, what you guys thought it was, right?
I don't know of any 250 that we presented this year. Last year, that was
No,
last year.
last board meeting, unless I'm mistaken, or somebody remembers differently, wasn't it 250?
Yeah, we haven't had anything near 250 this year at any
No,
point.
projected.
That's what I'm saying. We've never had that projection number this year. We had it last year.
I'm sorry, actually, it added up to 280 because it was the projected coming in from applications, not officially accepted ones.
So maybe there was a wait list last month or so, I don't.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one because I don't know. There's never been a time we've been even at 250, so 280, I don't know where
No,
we're
it's
getting that
the
number.
projected like possibility, and then you were projecting at the 250. And that was because you were leaving room, and I think you asked the question like, why 250, and you're leaving, there was like room left for like the possibility of X number of students not coming. I think that was a question Dr. Caseta asked and you explained.
I don't know anything about 250. That's honest. I'm not sure what we're talking about right now. Last year we had 250 and
That's fine, I can look at it and I'll email separately.
yeah, that's fine. Last year I continued to say there was going to be a difference and I assumed there was going to be 230 was what was going to come in.
Okay.
So it's a returning.
So she's got it up here.
Yeah, so it was the 110, the new application.
Oh, I see where you're getting
Plus-
280. I
Right.
didn't understand
Yeah,
that.
There was
So-
37 new applicants for kindergarten.
That's why we asked for the new column of actual applicants who have officially accepted, because when you did the math, it was a total of 280, but your projection said 250.
There's the 250.
That's what you verbalized in the meeting. And so there was an ask, like, why are you projecting 250 versus the 280? And then we talked about the cap and all of that. Is that triggering anything?
I
No.
apologize.
No, that's fine.
I see where the number differential is though. It
Yeah.
says that there's 37 new applicants for kindergarten on the April one. But on this document, it only says 21.
Yeah.
When that was more. So that would be a 26 number difference, which.
Yeah, I just ran through the numbers on what were accepted, just so if you guys have questions on that, I can do the math on that, but I'm not. I see now where you at least got the 280. I was really lost by that.
Okay, so, okay.
Remind me, is there an exit survey for the parent? You mentioned 10 students are not returning. Is there an exit survey? to
Yeah,
find
so
out why they're not?
Yeah, the
Or-
board has asked us to do that, so we reach out to them and check in on that.
So we haven't been reported back to about it.
Okay, that currently hasn't happened with these 10 kids, so there isn't anything. to
Or any
report back
kids
as we go.
that have left throughout the year.
Well, that would be helpful, the kids who've left throughout the year too.
Cause I've asked, Melody, and she said that they are done, but we've never been reported back to on them. I know last year we formed the exit interview committee made up of Judy and I, so if anybody else wants to be a part of that or take it over, by all means. But we were never reported back onto the kids that left since last year or throughout the year, or these 10 kids. So are we gonna get a report on why those families are leaving?
Well, during the year when you were asking when certain kids left, like we were able to share that at the phone meetings. Like if a kid moved with their military family, like we were telling you that I'm not sure But
Well,
we
it
can
didn't-
go back and try to.
The amount of military kids, or they moved because they got jobs, it didn't add up to the number of kids that actually left, so.
Okay.
If we could have a report on those and plus these 10 leaving, that would be helpful.
Is there a free intervention before he exits or is?
Well, if we find out,
We can
yeah,
convince
if we
them
find
to-
out why they're
possibly
leaving,
stay.
see what's going on with them for sure.
And then is there a way a board member could reach out to them, as well, or how does that exit interview process work? And I only ask because at my job, when they do exit interviews, I know when you're sitting in front of the CEO, you're not really gonna.
It's not usually done with me because of that. It's usually done through Miss Corey or Melody, in that process because of that reasoning alone. So, I mean, I don't know the ethics within having a board member do it just because of the operational side. So I don't know the answer to that as I sit here. I'm not really sure what that looks like. I wouldn't assume there's an issue with that, but I would need to check that. Probably with John, to be honest.
Okay. And when do you think we could have the report of the student, obviously the 10 is gonna take a little bit, but when can we have the backdated report of the students that have left throughout the year?
Yeah, I'll talk to Melody.
You have a, like, an estimate of
No,
the,
currently.
by the June meeting? Or?
Likely, I would assume.
I
that's
mean, I would
June
hope
11th, right?
before the June meeting, that's a month away. Cause they're already
It's less than
done,
a month.
the
like
interviews, you
20
said
days.
they were already done, right? So it would be easy to just.
Teachers can answer the questions as well, please, that was me, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this?
I have a question. So we have 4 kindergartners that are going to stay in kinder.
Yeah, there was a group of kids who were just slightly under 5 when they started this year.
Okay.
And they're kind of, basically they ran, even though we don't have a TK now, they basically ran as TKers and now are coming back for kindergarten. We had one do it last year.
Okay. And are any of the other, do we have any other grades being held, any students being held back in
No,
any
ma'am.
other grades? Thank you.
Data shows that, the research data shows that a kid past kindergarten or first grade, you should not hold back because it lowers their graduation percentage by 20% every grade they're held back. So second grade on, if you hold them back, it's only an 80% chance they're gonna graduate. So I push against that often.
Thank you.
I was just trying to figure out in terms of, like you said, in terms of the ethical part of having a board as part of the exit survey, but I think it doesn't limit a board member, recruiting. You know, part of the recruiting team, I can talk to her, not really get into the essence in terms of, you know, things that they might not be happy with, but to find out what we might then places the intervention to see if that really changes their mind. Maybe some people look at for the future. How do we go about using our own to recruit? It's not 100 students, or 10 students, maybe 2 of us, you just can take 2 for the parents. Or maybe having that opportunity for them to can.
That was excellent point. Or even just also fact finding, you know, it's just a resource and information, say it is somebody moving, but they might have, you know, some sort of suggestion that they feel freer to offer. Doesn't mean we have to take it or just our overall fact finding, recruiting.
Yeah, because you remember like those 10 students, I'm just trying to think, is it 10 students because they're a military affiliated family that are leaving to somebody else, or is it 10 because?
I've actually know at least one of them is that because their parents are here in the meeting and told me that purpose, so.
Right, and versus, you know, is it all 10 that have concerns about OTA? I think as you mentioned, having some type of report, a grid that just kind of asks why they're not retraining would be helpful.
Yeah. I just have a question, and I might be reading this wrong. Second grade, as an example, currently enrolled is 23, returning for 25, 26 is 13. That right there is 10 students, right?
No.
No, you gotta go.
They're the 22, they're the 22 on 3rd grade.
Yeah,
Because you gotta remember, they're going to a different grade.
promoting to the next class.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the.
It's 4 Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay,
You did the same thing I did.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions for Devin's report?
I'll answer what I can.
Your celebration by giving.
Should have stood up here and been really.
No, thank you.
Quietly.
Okay, thank you, Devin. Real estate panel, Mark.
Let's see, since the last board meeting, we visited the building, right?
Yes.
Yes. Walked around, I hate to say unlimited parking, but a lot of parking.
Yeah, a lot of
A lot
parking.
of
It is.
parking. To the point where we
It
can have a
overflowed
separate
mall.
teachers parking area.
We have a whole parking garage.
Yeah, I know. It's of course a former bank building with a lot of little offices for all of the vice presidents, because that's who works at a bank as vice president, unless you're a teller. There's two different buildings with a causeway between. The open areas, I'm sure that there'll have to be TI done, tenant improvements done on pretty much the whole place. That's part of what from the district, one of the people that met us there was the project manager for this, who's responsible for accumulating all of the architects and engineers and school personnel that have to look at this, and they're pulling together a plan. They've got floor plans from the current building and its infrastructure, but a lot of that's gonna have to change. Building was built in the 90s, I think. So it's well worn, but it's excellent street access, two entrances to the parking areas from the street.
Multiple parking areas, underground and.
Yeah, when you first pull in, there's one to the right, you can pull around, there's more to the right down there, then you can go upstairs to one, and then there's one that's accessible from the street on the side. It looks great.
Perfect loop too for drop off and.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I've
oh, yeah.
been there and it's nice. The potential of it is great.
Yeah, there's a road that runs around the back of the building and comes through where you would normally put your money in a little tube in the old days and shove it up, right? So that's all for now.
Okay, perfect.
I apologize for not attending, someone didn't put it on my calendar. I can kick myself for that. Well, you'll get a chance. You'll get a chance.
I missed it as well.
Oh, okay.
It was like, I'm not good with Gmail, so. Okay, so, thank you, Mark, and board discussions, me. So we need to brush up on our Brown Act. I highly encourage and recommend Brown Act training for all board members. We could have it done live during the meeting. We could find one online. We could, discuss how everybody prefers to do it on their own time or to bring somebody in to do it for us during the board, meeting. But, that is something that we all need to, be more aware of and mindful of, so.
Would it be worthy to bring John Lemo in to do a briefing? Because, you know, as it's been pointed out, the Brown Act was passed and there have been modifications since. So maybe it would be, and he has the experience to talk about the way other agencies have handled it, to present that to us as a common practice.
I'm okay, however you guys
That would be good.
see fit,
Or if he's not able to have a suggestion.
Mhm.
Do you want to reach out to John about that?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you. Okay, officer election, so we have a vacancy for the vice president.
I have a quick question on that, just 'cause
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Sure.
Is this just for this
Yes.
cycle until the end of this year? Because we're 1 month away from the end of this, or is this for all of next year? Because I think Bob brought up a point that I think we have to have elections for all of them, according to something he found in bylaws. So I'm just wondering if we're
We
doing
have
just to
to
the end of
have
this year.
an election for next year for the president.
For all.
For all of them, that's why I'm asking, is this
Yeah.
only for the rest
But I
of
didn't
this
know what
year?
that,
or-
what that meant in the agenda. I went and looked and yeah, the board has to do an annual election for all the officers.
For all
Right.
officers, right.
So if we do one tonight, it would be for until then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's only until next month. That's the reason I'm asking.
So we can do you guys want to do an all officer, we can do an all officer election
Next month.
today.
It can't be done
It can't be
because
done.
you put VP on.
Yeah,
That's what I was talking to you about on the phone.
Yeah, we have to wait.
You didn't talk about the term of it, but.
No, I was coming from a different angle. I thought if like Mark became vice president, then how were we gonna fill in secretary at that point? Because we wouldn't be able to do that at that point.
So we can just elect or nominate a VP, and I guess it would be for a month, and then we can have.
That's why I was asking. I just wondered what that looked like.
Election.
or we've gone without for
Or we can
months.
wait, okay.
We
So
just
we'll
wait,
wait,
make
we'll
it
add
easy.
that to the agenda after terms are over.
I think previously what had been mentioned by various people was that they wanted to fill that position.
Mhm. Okay, um,
And it's also not, if I'm reading correctly, I don't forget. Officer election.
okay, so supply list. Is there, and I should have actually just left this off and asked you during your report, but, is there a way we can get the supply list from the teachers, or the parents could get the supply list from the teachers earlier than normal? Because I think typically it's like a week, if not later, before school starts. Okay.
How soon do they know?
I mean, middle school has their supplies list done the week we finish school, so it's just when Martha and Melody send it out. So I think if they just add that to the checklist of supply list for the upcoming school year, we can easily,
That'd be great.
they can send it in.
Yeah, that would be great for parents, because it was my understanding that they didn't want to be an ask of teachers over the summer, but yeah, at the beginning of the summer is great, because the back to school sales start
Where we have a checklist.
immediately.
Well, right during Christmas.
Yeah, right, actually, that's true, that's actually the mid-year. But yeah, that will help, parents can be donating all summer.
So that it,
Yeah.
so is that a possibility, Ms. Miller?
I think we can add that to it, yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
thank
That's
you.
awesome, yeah, an increased parent donation.
Yeah. Okay, parent foundation report.
I don't think Pearl was doing that. Sorry, that was an error on both our parts. We haven't
Okay.
had listed on there, I would say.
I mean, I can read my letter of resignation.
No, I think we're good.
Addressed to you guys.
Okay, no, we're okay. Thanks. Principal report, 7.
Okay, so we did do the student board representative presentations. So I'm actually gonna turn it over to Mr. Watt so he can do the LCAP and local indicators presentation.
All right, hi, everyone. I'm gonna talk about the local control accountability plan tonight. So throughout the year, I worked with Devin, Janina, and then we have a committee that meets once a month of stakeholders that involve a board representative, parents, teachers, so that we get a full scope of input from all educational partners. So this is year 2 of our current LCAP cycle. The plan reflects a continued commitment to academic excellence, equity, and engagement for all students. So I'm going to go through. You guys have it in front of you. I think you guys got it on Friday. I doubt you've had a chance to look through it completely. I am very familiar with it because I worked with everyone to write most of it, but it has 77 pages. You only need to worry about 46 of those pages because the last page is all the directions for how to draft the LCAP. So you can eliminate, I know it looks pretty hefty there. And we frankly don't have time to go through everything. So as I go through it, if you have a question, please stop me, or I'm happy to answer any questions at a later time. I want to begin with the budget overview for the upcoming LCAP. So our total projected revenue is 2.9 million. Our LCFF supplemental funds, which stands for the local control funding formula, is 117,298. And it's important to understand that that number is going to be lower because those funds are going to be higher for districts that have a higher portion of higher need students. So that's why our number is a bit lower there. OTA plans to spend $355,610 to support high need students, which exceeds the minimum requirement. There's no material difference. There were no material differences reported between the budgeted and actual expenditures from the prior year. So as we reflect on year one, last year when I presented this, we didn't have anything to reflect on because it was the first year of the cycle. So part of what I'll be doing as we go through this is reflecting on how we did in year one. Any questions so far? All right, so our first, and I'm going to focus around our goals. Everything else kind of follows from our 4 main goals. Our first goal was the conditions of learning. So a couple key things from that is that we maintain 100% compliance in our key areas, facilities, access to instructional materials, credentialed staff, and a broad course of study. So we're doing great there. And there were no material changes made from our original goal. We didn't stray from our expenditures of what we projected in year one. So reflecting on that year we were in line with what we projected. A little further down, we have goal number 2, which centers around our ELA achievement. So our SBAC and iReady data shows growth across student subgroups in English language arts. So we did good there. We showed growth, which was what we are shooting for in our goal. All students. Sorry, so we're on goal number 2. I wrote everything down. I'm not following along the pages. Sorry. So that's if you get to goal 2, which is gonna be
page 11, I think.
It's a little further
number
than
1.
that. Page 17.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll get you along with the goals there. So as you look at the chart, you can see what each of our metrics. That's what I'm just giving you the highlights. I'm not going to go through each of our metrics, but I pulled out a couple of things that stood out to me as I reviewed from the year. If there's anything that stands out to you, I'd be happy to just go ahead and interrupt me. Another key point was that all student groups demonstrated gains in DFS, distance from standard, and over 100% of students showed growth on iReady diagnostics. I know that Devin has talked about this, but we continue our growth in iReady is great. I was really excited to see my son's growth in his iReady today. This Wheeler showed to me, so personal note. And then just a reflection. I also, for this goal, we also talk about our LPAC students. So one thing, area of growth and reflection is our reclassification rate for our English language learners is something that I'd like to improve upon. Okay, so moving ahead to goal number 3, which is very similar to goal 2, but this focuses on our math and STEM achievement. And that's going to be on page 22 for those following along. All right, so for math, a couple things to highlight. Our iReady scores increased by 80%, showing our effectiveness of diagnostics and our instructional supports. Our SBAC math scores declined slightly overall, although some of our subgroups did show improvements, but it was a slight decline. And this is important to keep in mind where the data is coming from. It's always a year behind when you're talking about state testing. So we could be, knocking it out of the park this year.
A whole year behind?
Yeah, because what I have to report on is not going to be reported until July. Was that right, Devin? Right around July. So we're always, every school's kind of off of the previous years.
This is last July's number.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the acronym SED. under the subgroups, white, Latino, SED.
Special education.
Yeah, so it's, that's gonna be our socially, economically disadvantaged.
That's low income?
So, yeah.
Is that a typical category?
It's on, when you go to the California School Dashboard, it's gonna be one of the categories.
Are there other ethnicities that get accounted for here?
They are, what happens is, when you go to the California dashboard, if the number's below a certain percentage, it's not going to register on that. But if you can go and look through at the different.
Just drill down.
Yeah, drill down a little bit more. But it doesn't, when you go to, and that's where most people are gonna go to the California School Dashboard, if it's below a certain number of students, it's not gonna register on that. Okay. Any other questions?
So the baseline number versus the year one outcome, baseline is a prior year or baseline is like state average? What is it?
Baseline is going to be our numbers at the beat when we start the, they're gonna be again, a year behind where we started our current cycle. So baseline is where we started, and then our year one was our outcomes, which is again, unfortunately, a year behind when you're talking about just for the state testing, not for iReady, it's gonna be.
Okay, yeah, I'm
current
looking
year.
at state testing. Cause I see the one says 77%, but this is just for all. But it says, then it says plus 45.1, but then the next one says 53.
Which page are you on, just so I can call?
22. So we baseline 77%.
Okay, yeah, so what that's off of is, it's a great question, is you can also, I'm basing off of the state.
Okay,
average,
that is the
our state, exactly.
Okay.
So when you go to, and there's nothing this is just kind of how I've done it and modeling other schools.
Mhm.
They don't necessarily tell you that's what how you have to do it, but that's general practice.
Makes sense,
Yeah, to use it off of the state.
Okay.
So that's where we get that. You know, we could be, not meeting the expectations that we have, but we could still be, well above what the state's doing, which is often the case. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to be constantly improving.
Okay. And so then what are the parentheses right below those numbers, the plus 0.45, plus 45.1 and the plus 44.8? That's
gosh, what is that? Difference from standard, something like that.
Okay,
So that's where I'm getting the state.
okay,
The state would be the standard.
okay.
I'm gonna go to, and I can go back if you get any more questions, but I'm gonna go to, in the interest of time, to goal 4. I think I mentioned everything on goal 3. All right, so goal 4 is and that's gonna be on page 27. This is our school climate and engagement. So we have 8 metrics. Yeah. 8 metrics there. Some things that stood out to me as you guys are perusing that is our improvement in our ADA, which was already talked about earlier in the meeting, and our also our chronic absenteeism decreased by 3%. And that as well is going to be a year behind, which I think we're doing even better than that, because again, it's being reported on that report that comes out in July. So I suspect we're doing even better than that. And then I did want to point out our suspension rate did increase from 0% to 2%, but that's kind of expected. Obviously, we don't want to suspend anyone, but we're still in line with other schools and other ELAs, LEAs in the location in our general vicinity. So we're still doing pretty well in that regard. And then the last thing for goal number 4 was our engagement was strong. You could see from our survey that Ms. Miller put out there. We also put out a survey with specifically for the LCAP. It's helps us. We had a meeting as the LCAP committee. We used that to guide us in our our current cycle of LCAP. So we had a lot of engagement. I believe we had similar numbers from parents, maybe a little bit less in that survey. And then we also had surveys out to the teachers and students.
Mr. Wood, are the surveys gonna be shared or posted online?
We can do that as well. We didn't do that last year, yeah, but we can definitely share them. And these surveys are, the other survey was specific to, you know, minimum days. This was things around, you know, our school, so all of our different goals. We were trying to add questions to parents that really reflected our 4 goals here. So, but yeah, I think we can make that public. Okay. So that's everything I put in my notes that I wanted to touch on for, and then as you read this, you know, I go into much more detail in the actual app. So if you have any questions that you want to email me or anything, you know, Devin, I'd be happy to talk about the LCAP with you. But I did want to jump into the our local indicators. So this is something else that we do every year. It's a self-reflective, I believe it says it on the front, yeah. Self-reflection. And this will also be reflected on the California School Dashboard. When you look up Old Town Academy, you'll get these numbers as well. I work with Devin on this. We really try to be really reflective on our on these numbers, but it gives you an option. You can do a written reflection, or you can do it in numbers. I went with the numbers to do that every year, but it's a scale from 1 to 5. This is on page 5. If you have a copy of this, you can see what I'm talking about. And this is based off of the LCFF priorities. There are 7 of them, I believe. But 1 is characterized as exploration and research phase. 2 being beginning development, 3 initial implementation, 4 is full implementation, and 5 full implementation and sustainability. Obviously we want to be at 5, but we were very realistic when we looked at these different things. So for priority number 1, which starts on page 5, you can see this is our academics, specifically in math and ELA. We were across the board, we reflected at 3, which was initial implementation. Moving over to page 6, our academic standards. We were mostly at a 4, with 1 our ELD aligned standards being at a 3. We go down to the bottom of page 6. Again, we reflected at 3s.
I'm sorry, Mr. West,
Yes.
I think you said it, but just want to confirm, this is the reflection of the school, right?
It is, so it's based upon the standards given. So the first state standard is going to be, see where it says. It's all about our academic standards, the first one. Our priority number 1 is about academic standards. And then our next priority is over on.
But the numbers, they came from yourself and Devin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So it's self-reflection.
Okay.
And that's how it's done.
Okay, thank you.
I honestly, if I don't want to go through every number, we were very conservative on this. We were 3s or 4s for most of them because you know, there's always room for improvement. But I don't think that we felt that we were in any sense of the word we were at the, what's the first one? Exploration and research phase. I feel like we are well beyond that. So we found for the most part in all of our areas to be full implementation or initial implementation. So I'll just leave it at that for this one. I'm asking for both the LCAP and the local indicators to be approved this evening. I think it's on the agenda. But if you have any other questions, as you glance through it, please don't hesitate to ask. Yes, Dr. Purcell.
On page 6, 77,
Page 6?
Yeah, does it require that you also report certificated demographics? I see that there's student demographics, but I wasn't sure.
Page 6?
I don't think on the local indicators, we have to report that to the county, and we have to report it to the district, but I
Are
don't
we
think
on
it goes
that?
in there.
Which one are we on, the local indicators or the?
Yeah,
the big-
77.
Yeah, the big picture.
The big guy.
The
The big guy.
Okay, the big one. So you're asking on page 6.
Six, I see that there's student, it says enrollment and demographics, so
Let's see
it can
here.
say enrollment and demographics. I kind of took it both student and, certificated or something, and that, whether that was,
Okay,
whether that needed to be included, but as I looked at the document, I couldn't find it.
yeah, Devin, do you have I don't know the answer to that.
I apologize, I was answering another question over here. What's the question?
No, about the demographics, in other words, we have the student demographics, what are the teacher?
Do we need the demographics of?
Yeah, so that one's not something that goes into this, because this is all student based. Those types of things, we do report those things, but they go to the county and to the district. Actually, really the county, I think the district just makes sure we've done it.
I've got a question. What's the correlation between the self-reflection and like our achievement as a Cornell school?
It's a good question. So you're saying what, when we reflect on this, how do we factor in our achievement knowledge?
Yeah.
We're kind of limited to, I mean, I think that would fall under priority, 1, right, with our academics. So that is our curriculum, is core knowledge, so that's.
Okay, so that's basically what you're saying.
But they're gonna give us the priorities, but that's where it would fall under.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Watts? Okay.
No, thank you.
I just want to take some time to commend Mr. Watts. I think he's, this is, since I've been here, he's been in charge of the VLCAP, but over time, he's really taken it on as his own and has really taken great ownership in it. So I just want to thank him. I know Bob's on that committee and, he turns a great leader, and I just want to thank him for that. Next thing I have on the, my report is, we do have 8th grade graduation coming up. It is Wednesday, June 4th. I want to invite the board to be there. I will have some seats for the board members. I know that's usually a usual request there. So we'll have them in the front row for 8th grade graduation. That's at 5 p.m. at Immaculate Conception Church on San Diego Avenue, just right down the street until it tees. Just wanted to remind everybody and the public, if you would like to join.
Okay. One year I went, and I was there late, but I couldn't find a way to get in. I was gonna jump the fence. I knocked.
So right next to the main church, like the main church and the main entrance, just off to the right, there's a little gate door that's open, and you walk in that gate and you'll find us. So next time, call me. I'll come running out in the middle of whatever's going on and pull you in. Next thing I have, so Kathleen Shaw's contract for next year. Kathleen Shaw has worked remotely for us for the past 2 years. She has helped with administrative work, board work, and special education work. We did reduce her hours this year, but we still need her help to maintain some of the sped paperwork, especially with the reduction in force that we have undergone. I would like to ask that the board passes her contract, as she is a support system. But even though her contract will remain the same and look the same, we will continue for her to be on the reduced hours unless something changes with our budget. But currently, to have her on is a big help within the special education department. I know that Ms. Robin, who's shaking her head yes in the front row, this is a big need for her. So I would ask that the board passes this tonight. So the contract, if you guys didn't see it, looks like this.
The total max would be 18,000 in a year. If the math.
720 times 25.
18.
Yeah, but we don't even operate with her that much.
What is what was our operation hours last year?
Yeah, so monthly, I'm not sure operation hours exactly, but monthly she ran before we reduced her hours between 600 and 800 a month for some of the work she was doing. Now she's more closer down into like the 2 and 3. So it was basically split in half.
And that $25 an hour was that's the same rate she's
Yep.
getting.
Yeah, she's not asked for any kind of raise, knowing what's going on here.
That would be about 9,600 a month,
A year.
or I'm
A
sorry,
year.
a year.
Yeah,
So is this the same contract then, or did we, like the not to exceed 15 hours or,
Yeah,
okay, but, so we're doing the same contract, we're just expecting to use fewer hours.
we are
We
going
haven't
to
actually
expect,
technically reduced that.
no, we reduced the hours. She was helping write the board reports. She no longer does those. She was helping me with some administrative work, specifically policy writing, which we haven't actually done a lot of recently, but all those things have been cut. The only thing right now that she's currently working on is special education, and that's the department I will keep her in. But just in case the budget is somehow remedied, I would like to have the ability to bring her back in different facets if we were able to. But right now it would remain in special education with the reduced hours, and she's aware of that. We had that conversation.
Okay, no, and I just thought when you mentioned reduced hours that you had a contract with reduced.
No, I don't have a contract with reduced hours. Any more questions on that? Okay, next thing is we just need to set a school board meeting calendar for next year, so I've included that document. I created the calendar, it was actually self-created, it was already created, I just went through to make sure that there weren't any dates on there that were conflicting with anything that we had, and I didn't see anything. So I'm asking the board to pass these school board dates for next year, so we have a scheduled calendar for that.
these are all still Wednesdays?
Yes, sir.
And just keep in mind that even though we pass it today, if, you know, a holiday pops.
Yep.
Anything random, we can always vote to move on.
Yep.
Now, is this February 18th during the February break?
I don't believe so. Cause I did go through and do that. We can look at the calendar. real quick.
Because remember, we had that in the past at the meeting, and then if there's a family or teachers or what have you that are planning travel during that time.
Yeah, I will double check. If so, I'll bring back a date change for next month, but I'm pretty sure I checked them all. Okay. And then the last thing, as a lot of people know in the community, we are struggling with our budget. I do know that there was a meeting on April 26th, I believe, where the board did pass a salary freeze. Unfortunately, we need to re-vote on that tonight, just for some reconciliation reasons. So I am asking that everybody vote the way they voted before, because we have done some things predicated on that initial vote. We just need to make sure that vote goes through again. So,
And just to confirm, this is what the teachers want and voice them.
Yes.
What's the reason for the revote? Why?
district requested.
District requested?
It's procedural.
Then we're gonna revote.
I'm aware, that's why it's on there.
Does it show somewhere, what we voted? Or how we
It's just
voted?
the procedural.
Yep.
It was the
Yeah.
posting, the addresses on the agenda one posted.
Was it a unanimous vote?
Yeah, it was unanimous.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm done rethinking.
So that is all I have on my report. Any questions to follow up on that?
I want to go back to Kathleen Shaw's contract
Yep.
for a second, because it's not to exceed 720 hours, 15 hours a week, $25 an hour, which Miriam had pointed out is $18,000 if we use all of that time.
Yep.
Right, so when you think about budgeting her every month,
Mhm.
what are we planning for? What is the, let's just say July to December, right? Because we're still working on the budget. What would be the plan for the maximum amount of hours in terms of a reduced?
Are we talking about per week or per month? What are we, just give me a ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, I guess per week, let's do it that way, since it's not to exceed 15, are we cutting that in half and saying she's gonna do 7 hours?
Well, so that's what I was gonna say. Right now, if she's getting, like I said, monthly, I believe her pay is right now between 200 and 400, which is 4 to 8 hours in the course of the month. So right now, we're talking about roughly 2 hours a week, which would align with what I think is probably being pushed out right now. And I don't see that being a change. Again, it will be just what Miss Robin is needing assistance with in her department. And right now, that will be the only thing, unless there's like special assignments or something changes with our budget again.
Okay, but as you prepare your budget, you're gonna prepare it as 18,000 and just divide it over the 12 months?
Well,
Since
actually,
it's up to?
Janina and I actually worked on some of that today.
Okay.
And so really, it's more budgeted for about $400 a month right now.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, that concludes my portion.
Okay, are you gonna leave this?
But
Or no?
I just presented it to you guys.
Yeah, we got it written, we don't need to, unless you got questions.
Yeah, talent show, are there gonna be tryouts? I don't know, was that announced or?
They've already happened, right? Tryouts have already happened.
I was,
Happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, those are just, I just put those, so those recent events and those upcoming events are literally just for you guys as a board report thing.
I see.
I don't talk about those at the actual meeting. That's just so you guys are aware those things have happened and things that are coming up. And then the board report stuff is what I work on, the principal's report down there. That's what I disclose at the board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so. Consent action items, so we have. We have the April board meeting minutes printed.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see them either.
I actually think this was passed at a different meeting. I thought that today. Weren't they actually passed at one of the?
April 20th.
Weren't they actually passed at one of the special board meetings?
No,
It was not?
no.
Okay, they're not here. They are not here. I can tell you that much.
Where are they?
They're not here.
Okay, so we don't, so that needs to be removed.
But Mark-
And we need to do the other two anyway, so
But you emailed them?
I didn't email the Saturday meeting. I thought I had, I wrote it, but I didn't email it. I did email the May 5th one.
And the
Yeah.
May 5th actually over there,
Yeah,
but it wasn't on the
we
docket
need
for it
to
to be
do-
passed.
yeah,
So we're removing that from the consent,
Yep,
that and then the election.
yep. So
the election.
1 and 10
Okay.
are removed.
Okay, so 1 and 10 are removed. I think we're going to have to break this up and pull it out individually.
I think initially you take a vote, and then if that vote is denied or is tied, then you break them down individually.
Well, no.
Well, any board member can ask to have one or more removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there something you want removed?
Is there anything? Well, how do I ask that? Like, is,
I mean, I think we can just ask it, like, if we wanted to vote on something.
If there's something you want to pull out and vote separately.
is there something that anybody wants to vote and pull out separately? I'm going to. I would like to pull out the trial balance separately.
For what? The trial?
The trial balance.
Really? Okay.
Which one was the trial balance?
Did you have questions?
No,
Miriam, why do you want the trial balance separate? I'm just interested in, because they're all
Yeah.
Janina's documents.
Is there a detail in there that you're?
Yeah, is there something that's
So the budget.
not copacetic?
well, I was just gonna abstain from voting for it because I didn't get to read it all the way.
Gotcha.
Well, you can go forward, pull it out, we'll vote separately.
Okay. So do we have a motion for the?
But I just wanted to,
Sorry.
I don't know that I necessarily need this to be pulled out separately, but I just wanted to further thought that I had on the minimum days. Which is, I think that, you know, either way, we end up voting on the minimum days. I do just want to reiterate that I'm glad we had the parent survey, and I think that it's important, though, that even if we vote to approve the minimum days, that we want to take seriously the concerns that were expressed and attempt to address them. Like, what I don't want to have happen is if the minimum days are approved, we then disband with the concerns that were raised by parents. You know, the approval of minimum days should not mean that we're no longer considering what I think were valid concerns. I mean, I do think, I know it was expressed by someone that they didn't, that maybe it was a mistake to survey the parents. I think it's never a mistake to survey the parents because we want to get information so that we can address concerns because we're in part of community building and as part of retention, we need to address people's concerns. So I would also like, therefore, there be follow-up early fall if we approve the minimum days as to what is happening to address those concerns so that the community does know.
Are you wanting that to be pulled out separate? Because if we.
I think we're gonna pull everything out and vote individually,
Oh,
like we did last time.
Okay.
Isn't, yeah.
I
That's what we-
thought you just mentioned that that was what was gonna be pulled out was a trial balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
That's the only
we-
thing so far.
I mean,
But when you pull one out, we have to vote individually.
No, you
No,
can do
no,
an
that
approval
was-
for all except the one you pulled out.
that was a mistake. Mark, you had said that last meeting. and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
We determined that that was.
Yeah,
not-
any
that
board
was a
member can
mistake.
ask for anything on the consent agenda to be pulled out and voted separately.
Yeah, so we can still keep everything else in the consent, and I'm not asking for this to be pulled out, I just wanted to have a discussion point on that point.
Okay, so we'll pull out the April 2025 trial balance and the weekly minimum days. Anything else?
I think she just mentioned that she didn't.
Well, yeah, she said you didn't want
The
to take it out.
weekly.
I wasn't saying, I just wanted to,
She didn't-
if you wanna pull it out,
I
yeah.
want to pull it out.
And the
Okay, so
last-
she's asking.
The last regular board meeting, I did send minutes for that, right? The only one I didn't send was the Saturday meeting.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay,
I think that's accurate, yeah.
okay,
I think it's just a,
But they're
So
not,
then-
we can't.
yeah, since
Okay.
we didn't get them. We can't. vote.
okay, okay.
But not your fault.
Okay.
You did do, yes,
Okay.
you did do.
Okay, so we don't need to vote on these separately.
No,
No,
no.
that was a,
No, and-
that was a confusion.
And in other groups that I've been in, the chair can call for objections to anything. That's when a board member would say, I want to pull this out. And if there are no objections after that, then it's essentially approved. But, Don
can we
said we
group-
still had to take a roll call vote.
So can we group these then? Like
No, you
2,
just,
3, 5.
You would just take out what you're taking out.
Okay,
Right.
so
They would
we're-
come out separate, then you would do approval vote for those that weren't taken out. And then you would vote separately on the ones that were taken out.
So we're gonna
Right.
pull out 4 and 6. Which is the trial balance and the minimum days. Do we?
She wanted, I didn't know, did
No,
you
I-
want it
Yeah,
pulled out?
no, she didn't.
Oh,
I'm asking. for-
oh, you want it pulled.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve everything except number 4 and 6? Which is 4 is April 2025 trial balance and 6 is with weekly minimum days.
I move to approve.
In a second.
second,
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Hi.
uh,
Okay, so roll
Okay,
call.
better do a roll call, just call each name. you know.
Okay, so Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Dr. Caseta,
All right.
Judy, Miriam,
Dell.
Dell, Alvin,
Aye.
Mark?
Aye,
Okay, so it was unanimously passed to vote in everything.
Items 2, 3, 5.
Yeah.
That's right, easier to say what we did approve.
So 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9. We are not voting on 1 and 10, and we pulled out item 4 and 6. This is.
But you got it. Yeah, you're on it. Keep it moving. You're doing it.
Recorded, right? So we can.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then we need a motion to approve April 2025 trial balance,
So
which is
moved.
number 4.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, hands up, keep your hands up. So all in favor are Miss Miller, Mr. Ham, Dr. Caseta, Judy, Dell, Mark.
Alvin,
Alvin, are you in favor?
Yeah, in favor.
Okay. And Alvin, all in favor. Any opposed? None. Abstentions? 1, Miriam. Okay, so That's number 6, weekly minimum days.
I move to
I
approve.
move to, second.
Okay, all in favor of approving additional weekly minimum days?
Weekly.
It's overcomplicated that. Okay, all in favor of approving weekly minimum days?
All right,
Keep hands up, please. All in favor is Mark, Dell, Judy, Casada, Pam. Didn't you vote? No, sorry, just no, but, and,
Alvin?
Nay.
okay,
Okay,
so you got that for all in favor?
just a minute,
Everybody except Alvin and myself.
okay. Okay, and you guys vote nays?
So all opposed? Miriam?
Alvin.
Alvin. Okay, and no abstentions.
Okay.
I'd be an exception.
Help me catch
Oh,
back up.
and Miss Miller's an abstention.
Yeah, Ms. Miller.
Who moved the consent?
You did.
I moved the consent now?
I thought Dr. Casella did.
He did.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I
too.
seconded.
That's right.
For this piece?
Yeah.
No, for the, I'm catching up.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, and then on the trial balance, I moved that, right? Or no,
You moved it.
I moved and Bob second, yeah. Sorry. Gotta find a better way to do this faster. Okay, got it.
So it passes, correct?
yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Thank you.
I know you're disappointed.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the teachers and staff. That is
No, make
incredible.
it count.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, perfect. So we will hop into closed session with a small break.
hey, thanks you guys for being here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. The time is
11:40.
It's 11:40.
11:40. Nothing to report. Thank you.